Game ain't over. The sun is shining. And it ain't over.
You wanted the best, you got the best. From my home studio on Long Island, New York, welcome to Ian Scotto Rocks. I am your host, Ian Scotto, and today we're going to be discussing Ghost's no phones policy for their shows. This isn't really news. This was announced a few months ago from what I remember, but it's resurfacing because Tobias Forge of Ghost has kind of clarified his position on this, and I like it. I know there's some people who aren't happy about the no phones policy, but I completely get his point. So let's get right into it. So I saw this originally from Blabbermouth, where they picked up an interview from Planet Rock. As you could see here, Tobias Forge explains Ghost's phone ban during 2025 tour. In a new interview with Planet Rock, Ghost mastermind Tobias Forge addressed the band's announcement last fall that Ghost's 2025 world tour would be a phone-free experience, with guests maintaining possession of their phones at all times, secured in Yonder pouches. As he said, as transcribed by Blabbermouth, I really want to underline that the ban has nothing to do with, let's say, copyright control. It's not that we want to sit on all the material and we don't want anyone to monetize it. It has nothing to do with that. Referencing the fact that Ghost's feature film debut, Right Here, Right Now, was filmed over 2 nights in September of 2023 at the Kia Forum in Los Angeles, Tobias continued, the Right Here, Right Now, the film, the essence of the messaging in that film was exactly that. But also but for us collectively working, making that film, we filmed 2 shows in LA in front of audiences where they had to put their phones in their pockets. You don't give it away. You have your phone. You don't have to worry about that. If you need to call, you can go out. If you need to take a photo, you can take a photo of yourself out in the lobby. That's fine. But what ended up happening was that we had such an engaged crowd that seemed joyous in a way that I had to go back years in time since I last saw a fully engaged crowd where everybody's actually watching the show. They don't have to watch me, but they're watching the band. The 44-year-old Forge added, I don't want to turn this into an ageist thing where I'm going to tell 14-year-olds everything was better back then, but I swear that the experience of shows and the making of memories, the making of magic was much more powerful. Some of the best shows I've ever been to, I have maybe not even seen a picture from that because they all live here in my head, pointing to his head. They live in my core. That's the memory I have of that. And that is an experience I wish for. Obviously, the part of our crowd that are older and more aware, maybe this becomes a little bit nostalgic then. But I really believe that the younger portion of the crowd will, as they did in LA, come out saying, like, that was not only a great concert, but that was also an overwhelming experience, because I do believe that you will feel that. Through the use of technology like Yonder, fans are able to place their phones in a pouch that unlocks only after they leave the no cell phone zone. The pouch can also be unlocked at specific cell phone stations inside the venue. Phone-free concerts are touted as a way to cut down on illegal filming and non-stop selfies that can take away from the performance. I hear that. Yonder founder Graham Degoni said his company's pouches were created for phone-free spaces where creativity and productivity could flourish in the absence of technology. Phones, Apple Watches, and other communications devices are placed in the pouch and sealed using a magnetized lock, which can be opened with an unlocking base. Musicians like Jack White, Alicia Keys, and comedians like Dave Chappelle and Gerard Carmichael have used Yonder pouches at their shows to encourage people to live in the moment. A number of other musicians have come out in recent years to say that mobile technology is ruining the concert experience, including Slipknot and Stone Sour singer Corey Taylor. He told Loudwire Nights that it's fine if people want to take a picture of the band shows, but not so much if they are videotaping entire performances. It's one thing to film it, it's another thing to just be staring at your screen while you're filming, he said. It's right there. Are you so terrified of real life that you can't do anything unless it's on that little 4x4 screen? Ugh, it's very weird. I have something to comment about that, but I'm going to finish this article. But I completely agree with Corey Taylor, and I have an example that he lived. Former Skid Row singer Sebastian Bach in 2015 urged fans to keep their cell phones at the bottom of their pockets and just watch his performances. Be in the moment, he said. You're distracted, and it's distracting to the performer as well. Like, put your fucking cell phone away, damn it. You're never even going to watch that footage. So it goes on. I don't think I need to watch, it mentions Bruce Dickinson, Duff McKagan, Slash. I'm not going to get into all that, but I'm going to give you my take on this. Before I do, as always, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out the Etsy store. Link is in the description for these great double-sided Ian Scotto Rocks mugs that will keep your drink cold or warm, and our badass limited edition t-shirts. Okay, so I see the demographics of the channel often, and the usual viewers of this channel are older than myself, so they can relate. I am 38, and to the youngins out there, I can remember a time where you did not have a cell phone on you at all times. I specifically remember going to a Pantera show only a few months before 9/11 happened, and me being actually pretty responsible kid at the time, I will say, put in a shitty situation. I was driven there by some older guys I barely knew, and they started drinking alcohol in the car, smoking weed, and it was a bad position driving that way to Nassau Coliseum. There was nothing I could really do about it, but I do remember getting in touch with my dad via a payphone and telling him, I want you to pick me up, and I didn't have a cell phone on me. He didn't have a cell phone. This was, once again, 2001. I probably had a pager or something. There was also a fair going on at the Nassau Coliseum, and somehow we still managed to link up. So the people worry about all these emergencies. For one, this Yonder pouch seems like great technology where you don't have to worry about all that. You will be able to meet up with people. It won't be a problem. But the point is, we did all of this in the late 90s, early 2000s, and for the most part, everything was fine. There was a time you didn't have to be attached to a phone 24/7. And as someone who tries to practice mindfulness, I do like to go days sometimes where I turn my phone off and I enjoy a day at the beach or something like that. And if I go to shows, I am not constantly taking selfies. I am not taking video. I am living in the moment. But unfortunately, unless you mandate people to do so, they are addicted to the screen time. That's just the way it is right now. I've gone to the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, which has 3 different rooms. And more recently, I believe it was the main room I was in, where they just tell you not to use your cell phone. But I think in the 2 smaller rooms, because it happened to me the first time I was ever there, they give you a pouch to put your cell phone in. And they say, look, if you, and it's like a manila envelope. It's not one of these Yonder cases, but they just say, they give you 2 rules, basically. They say, do not heckle the comedians or you'll be asked to leave. And don't look at your phone. If you need to look at your phone, you could exit and come back in. You can go out for a cigarette, anything like that. But during the performance, no filming, no looking at your phone, which is great for the comedians. They could work out new material without it going out on YouTube. But for concerts, yeah, there is something about living in that moment. And that's the whole idea of mindfulness. Anyone who practices mindfulness, anyone who's gone to therapy or does yoga or meditation has probably heard of this. And it's just about that, as like that old Buddhist saying goes, if you're living in the past, you have depression. If you're living in the future, you get anxiety. So you need to be living in the present. Like, these are the most magical present moments, or going to shows of bands that you love and really just enjoying that performance during the moment. And everybody is so caught up in, I gotta post this to my stories. I gotta flex for the gram, as the kids say. And I think really just enjoying that performance is so much better. Look at if you go to like a Broadway show, you're not allowed to tape. And that's probably why people still love Broadway shows. And unfortunately, it's like you go to movie theaters now and people are whipping out their cell phones and people are just absolutely addicted to it. So this is the way it has to be done. I personally don't get the people complaining about it. I think the guy who does Rock Feed had like a lot of negative things to say about this. I think that guy's like a little bit younger than me. And I think some of these younger dudes and women don't remember a time that you weren't glued to your cell phone 24/7. And I am here to say, yes, it was a better time. And that's why I often try to go back to that time and go out to dinner with friends and leave my cell phone at home. and I don't worry about what about an emergency. Look, I will find a way to make something happen if I need to find a cell phone. I don't live my life in fear like that, and I do try to cherish the great moments. So yeah, I personally think it's a great policy. And by the way, it's not just young people. I see a lot of boomers my parents' age who are way more glued to their cell phones than I am. The cell phone and all of this technology was made to be extremely addicting. And look, I'm not sitting on my pedestal looking down on everybody, because I'm guilty of it as well. Look, I'm on a YouTube channel. Of course, I'm looking at my stats and all that stuff and checking out rock news, but I think it's important to have that time away. And if you could spend a couple of hours at a show really enjoying the moment, I think that's magical. And I think you'll really come out of that show, if you're a fan of Ghost, and you'll go, this was worth it, and it made the show a better experience. Now, I wanted to comment on something because Corey Taylor echoed the same thoughts, it sounds like. And you may remember at Eloy's first show behind the kit as the drummer of Slipknot, they did this, I guess you would say, secret show, or like surprise announcement show, where they played right around Joshua Tree, California, in the old jumpsuits, playing the first album. And I'm sure they wanted to do that to relive the magic of those early days of like wild crowds, couple hundred people there. And I think for the band, I don't know, it probably was a disappointment on some level, because I watched some of these performances on YouTube, some of the performance, like the footage, and everyone is out there with the cell phone. So I actually wanted to show you some of this, because yeah, it's probably not the magic of Slipknot in 1999 because of that. I think that's what took away from it. You don't see people moshing. So I'm going to play some of that as an example. How many people are out there with their cell phones? If this was 1999, this crowd would be getting wild. It's only a couple of hundred people there seeing a band that usually plays, in some cases, stadiums, in many cases, arenas. And look at this. The performance looks cool, but why does, here's the thing. Why does everyone have to have their cell phone out? Because it's people right next to each other, right? Your perspective is not going to be that much different than the guy right next to you, and one of them is going to post it to YouTube. I never record a song or full performance or any of that, because I always know if I go on YouTube the next day, I'm going to find someone else who posted it. Even at smaller shows, I ended up finding someone who posted it. So as long as there's like a couple people in the crowd, you're good. You're going to see that on YouTube the next day. And I don't know, man. I don't need to flex for the gram. I don't need any of that. I completely co-sign what Tobias Forge is saying. And I remember the Misfits did this for their big comeback. They used those Yonder pouches. And I'm sure people really liked it and got to maybe converse with strangers, have good conversations with friends before the band went on. So I'm going to end it with that. Live in the moment. Get away from your phone for a little bit. You're probably on your phone right now watching this. You know, if it's a nice day out, enjoy the weather, enjoy nature. And yeah, I'm sounding very Buddhist philosopher, Sun Tzu or something right now. I don't know. I don't know who I'm sounding like. But that's my message for today. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. And you can click right here for other great content from right here on the channel. Ian Scotto Rocks. We cover rock news. We do deep dives. And I also give my commentary on things. And if you like this video, you're going to love it, so stick around here.